Hello, I'm Emily Lekkas and I am part of Edinburgh Innovations, and I'm joined with Irene Yang, who is one of our first Innovation Fellows here at Edinburgh Innovations. So welcome, Irene.
Thank you so much, Emily. I'm really happy to be a part of the first cohort of Innovation Fellows at Edinburgh University.
So can we understand a little bit about what's got you here to date? Because I think you've got a really interesting career so far in your research and so forth. So please do provide a bit more info.
Yeah, I'm South African and I moved abroad at a fairly young age. So I've been very blessed to have worked with various different world-leading orthopedic researchers and engineers around the world, conducting translational research. So after graduating engineering and medical science, I took up a post as a research assistant at Westmead Children's Hospital in Australia. And I worked with Professor David Little and his team to develop novel orthopedic devices for children. So one of the projects that I was working on is the PediFrag wrist fusion system, which is actually currently sold by Orthopediatrics, a company based in the US. And from that experience, I then took some time out in industry and I worked as a product developer, just to learn how medical devices are developed, designed and then sold. And then I got an offer to go to Oxford University to complete my PhD. So I had a Clarendon scholarship, and it was there that I worked with Professor David Murray and Professor Stephen Mellon on redesigning the Oxford unicompartmental knee replacement implant. And I'm still continuing my work with them now to try and realize some of those creations. But then I got also the opportunity to move to Edinburgh, where I'm currently based, and I am now, or was most recently, in Professor Hamish Simpson's lab at the Department of Orthopedics and Trauma, working on cutting tools for orthopedic surgery. So I would say yes, like I've had a bit of an unconventional journey to reach where I am, but I think it's also been a very exciting process to get to where I am now.
And I think the other part of your career that's been really interesting is that you took a bit of time out of academia in order to work in industry.
Absolutely. I in some ways was very intentional with my career so far. The bit that I was, in some level very just lucky about was meeting my first boss. He was an exceptional mentor, and still remains a very good friend of mine. And when I was working with him, I just felt, that I was learning a lot, but there was also a lot that I was not sure about, and that was a lot to do with the impact side of the work. So how do I create technology in a research setting that does actually translate to healthcare? It was a bit unconventional. I think lots of people were, kind of going for PhDs, but at the time I just felt, for me to make an informed decision about a PhD, I wanted to first understand what exactly I was trying to achieve and what would I want to try and get out of a PhD. So yeah, that drove my kind of transition out of academia, but I always knew that I was always drawn back to academia. So I did apply eventually for a PhD, and I was really happy about that.
Yeah, and so I think that leads really nicely into what drew you into the Innovation Fellows program. What really interested you about that?
Absolutely, yes. I was, at the time a postdoc, and I was looking for ways to advance my academic career through a fellowship. And I had spoken with an academic mentor of mine, so one of my PhD supervisors, and he was advising me at the time to focus on translational fellowships, or fellowships that were focused on translational research, which hadn't occurred to me despite all of the kind of research I was doing at the time. So I looked at the Innovation Fellows program and the brief, and I just thought, this is perfect for my career goals, my career background. Everything that was listed was pretty much me on paper in some senses. So I felt very fortunate. It came through as an email. I immediately, started investigating it. It was clear that it was a new process that was being developed at Edinburgh University. So, one thing led to another, and here I am today.
You're one of our first cohorts, so that's really exciting. So tell us a little bit more. Tell me a little bit more about what it is that you're doing with your innovation fellowship.
I currently work with a lot of orthopedic surgeons and researchers at the hospital, so Edinburgh Royal Infirmary. And it was very clear to me that engineering techniques could be applied to facilitate some of the work that they were trying to do. So the technology that I'm working on is basically trying to facilitate clinicians to diagnose fractures better, so that effectively we reduce patient suffering and improve patient outcomes.
So what has EI helped you with so far, and what do you expect there to be help in future as well?
Even at this point, I feel like I've already been supported by Edinburgh Innovation. They've really been great at advising about the impact pathways, trying to understand, outside of just the creation of the technology, where could this go? What impact could it have? But in addition to that as well, I've also received a lot of advice about funding, just not just within Edinburgh Innovations, but University of Edinburgh as well, and then, more broadly, Scotland and UK, and then wider kind of on a global aspect.
And I think that's really important, that as you develop your ideas and your technology and hopefully innovate to a point where you could see it implemented into the clinic, that we're there supporting you on that journey and helping you, whether it's, you decide that actually it might be a big medical device company that you might want to partner with to really take your technology and take that further. That's the sort of support that we can help you with. Or if you want to start your own business and you want to be CEO and really think about that as your career path, then we're there to also help you think about what happens if you want to spin this out.
Yeah, I definitely think that I was hesitant in some senses because I'm not, as with my career goals, like I was trying to go for an academic career, and it was, at first it was a little bit like I wasn't sure if Edinburgh Innovations was the right place for me to go, because it seemed like it was very commercial focused, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I just didn't really understand how that would help an academic career. Yeah. But I've actually come to find that it is pivotal to the success of an academic career, because whether you stay in academia or if you go to industry, if you want impact, it's the same outcome. Yeah. So I've had such a positive interaction with Edinburgh Innovations, because I think, yes, there's this idea that, you have to start a company, and I wasn't against starting a company, but I was like, I'm not sure if that's what I want to do. And so to kind of free up the intellectual freedom for me to think, I could stay in academia, but I could also, spin this out, or, it's just, let's see where this goes, so having that option open up for me has been so liberating, I would say.
Thank you, Irene. That was a fascinating insight into your journey as an Innovation Fellow, and it's been really interesting to hear your career so far and what your ambitions are with this fellowship.
No, thank you so much, Emily, for taking the time to interview me today, and for giving me the opportunity to share my story. And if I can, I would definitely encourage anyone who is interested in, moving forward their translational research to apply for the Innovation Fellowship, because I think it's a fantastic opportunity to engage with Edinburgh Innovations and move your career forward, whatever that goal might be.